I got recording again. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. So now I want to ask you something. And you told about career counseling, and a lot of my teachers, when I started doing all these things, I've also invited some of my teachers to my stand-up comedy shows, and my teachers to you. Would you want to come there, and would you want to come to my theater plays, or all these things that I do. And I've interviewed my teacher as well, and I've asked some to give me an interview. So I feel like there's this connection that is being built with like me and my teacher. But when I started, a lot of different teachers had a lot of different views as to what I'm doing. Some said that you should focus on your studies. Some literally called up my parents and said, what she's doing is wrong. She shouldn't be doing it at this age. There were views, I must tell you. There were views about different things that I was doing. And there were some that were so supportive that, they understand it. Oh my God, you were rehearsing for your play. I understand that you couldn't just focus so much on your test. That is no problem. We can learn more and focus more next time on this certain thing that you might not be seem to getting hold of. And if anybody would be disrespectful in the class, I mean, this happens, right? They just kind of like kind of keep them aside and all these things. So I feel like there were a lot of feedback that came my way. And yeah, it does take a teacher a lot of time to just realize that, oh my God, if this person has a lot of artistic abilities in maybe this part of art, they could be a good abstract artist. I mean, this is because you see the notebooks, you see the tests, and even in the writing, you see a lot of things, right? So, has it ever happened in like your career, I would say, that you have seen that this child would make like a perfect like this profession?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You want to share what?
And yeah, I have a student who I never share though what I think they would make a good blah 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 of. I will ask some questions that might maybe have them think about it. Or if I know the student really, really well and we've got a great relationship, I might say like, oh, I see you maybe thinking about this, but I never actually want to put that kind of it's not pressure, but identity on a kid, because I feel like depending on the relationship, as soon as a teacher says like, oh, Raheen, you're going to be a great teacher, like then it puts that in your head and you're like, okay. And maybe sometimes the light bulbs go off, but I think you want kids to find that kind of on their own. But I have a student that I had many, many years ago. And in my head, I've always thought she is going to be an amazing teacher, like period. Like she's going to find it no matter what. And she went to high school and she went to college and she studied theater. And now she is, she doesn't really have much work because of the pandemic and whatever. And we're still connected on Facebook. So we text now and then. And she said, I actually think I'm might be thinking about going back to school to be a teacher. And I had never told her this. And, like when I got that message, this was just like last month, I was like, yep, I can see it. And there's also a lot of other cases where I see like, especially kids with the arts, like with theater, a lot of kids come in and they don't necessarily think like, oh, I am good at theater, but you can see it right away. Like they're a kid that can talk about something without having a piece of paper in front of them, right? They're just naturals at it. Some of these kids had never been in a play in their life, but you're like, you know what? This is a natural not all of my predictions have turned out to be correct, but I definitely have seen so many talents and potential in kids that they have no idea, because it's never something that we talked about with someone else, or it's never something that someone has noticed, because we're just focused on like subjects and, basically taking the test. But yeah, definitely. I think every single kid has something that I've noticed where I'm like, oh, do you know that you could do this? Do you know that this is something you could be really amazing at? Yeah, for sure.
Actually, fun fact, my teachers, when I was in the sixth grade, I hadn't quite started my theater back then. And I've been doing my school plays since the first grade. I mean, that's how long it kind of dates back. But I feel like all my teachers, they called me drama queen because I was great at acting, and I still am. It's because I could learn the scripts, and like just in time I'd be able to kind of like make it, and I'd be like in my annual days and stuff, I'd be like in 3 plays at a time. So it was really interesting, and my teachers like really spotted that, and those teachers, they were like very happy when they saw me going on tour with the theater play. So they were like, oh my god, I have tears in my eyes, and they were like, we just had a moment there.
Yeah.
Now again, now I say I watch too much Netflix, and you know, when you kind of make those comments, and I want to say this, like, oh my god, you'd make like an amazing trapeze artist, you know, just like, I don't know, you don't make an amazing trapeze artist, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can actually walk that way, and oh my god, like this would be fine. You know, those thoughts of self-love come. Have you ever seen a child like really be disturbed because of their family issues? Because there's a lot of things that are happening in your mind, and how would you suggest teachers to kind of be there for the child and be friendly, yes, yet be a teacher and be respected? Because there's a very fine line between a friend and a teacher, and yet you have to kind of make that divine, you know, kind of balance. So what do you have to say about that?
I think as a younger teacher, it was a lot harder to have that balance. I started teaching when I was 21, and I was teaching actually kids that were, some of them were seniors in high school. So they were 18 years old. So, I mean, to have that boundary when I was younger, I actually put that boundary up a lot more. And I was much more hesitant to know about the lives of kids, because I felt like that was going to make a bridge to us that would be too friendly, you know. And as I got older, that became easier because the distance between our ages and my own experience was able to get bigger. But I think, you know, I don't believe that there's a difference between school life and home life. Just like I don't believe there's a difference between work life and home life or personal life. It's all life. And school is such a massive part of a young person's day, of their experience, and that is always going to be connected to their home life. You can't separate it out. And I have had so many kids who have had significant issues at home, with parents battling things, with kids battling things. And it's very hard sometimes actually to care about a class of 30 kids who are kind of all going through something. And being a teenager is just hard no matter what, even if you're coming from like the best family. Like it's such a difficult period of time. It can be, at least. So I think one thing is, again, that focus on, okay, who is this person? What are they going through? And also making clear that there are some things legally, right? So if a kid were to say to me, you know, I'm harming myself, you know, I have a legal responsibility to actually let someone else know about that so that they can get more help. So making those boundaries really clear, so that if I have to tell someone, a kid doesn't think, oh, I've lost trust in that. So making that professional boundary really clear is important. But I mean, a lot of my students, you know, as I just said, like we still, you know, text from time to time. We're still in social media. Like that kind of relationship, I think, never goes away as a teacher-student relationship. And I've had students who have, you know, gone away and like gotten pregnant at a young age, at 16, after they've left my class, and they've emailed me, you know, right away, asking like, can we talk about this? What do I do? So once that relationship is there, I've never had a kid years later text me and be like, hey, I need help on my English paper. You know, like that never has happened. But that kind of personal relationship about listening to a young person and kind of helping them understand themselves, that never goes away. So I actually think that as a teacher, that is also a massive part of our role. And even if we don't know what to do with that information, even though that's uncomfortable for us, I don't think we can teach English without understanding what our kids are going through in all aspects of their life. It's not always easy. I'm not perfect at it, for sure. I've made a lot of mistakes with it. Because once you open that door, you're there. I mean, you can't really close it again. But I haven't really seen a lot of cases where I have been able to be an effective English teacher without also bringing in that understanding about young people and what they're going through.
Yeah, and I totally understand you, because all these, I would say, the age of social media, we know the teacher's full name, and the next thing we know, we're just kind of looking them up on Facebook. I mean, I've done that. my friends are like, some of my teachers are friends with me on Facebook, and like they appreciate it. But yeah, there's a fine line between all those things, and then you're kind of intruding too much into somebody's privacy as to, are they married? Do they have kids? Are they in a relationship? Who are they in a relationship with? So all these things kind of like obsessing upon a person and just like stalking, and isn't the most coolest thing. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I have looked up my teachers on Facebook a lot.
They
So I don't
probably
deny
looked
it.
up you, Raheen. They probably looked up you.
Oh yeah, one of my teachers, she was starstruck. I don't know. She knew my full name, of course, and she did know I was doing something, but not like quite that. And she looked me up on Facebook, and oh my God, the other day she was like treating me like royalty, and I'm like, no offense, but where's that teacher that I knew yesterday? And she's like, I looked you up on Facebook. Oh my God, you have 10,000 followers, and I'm like, that like really doesn't matter in the class, does it? Right? And she's like, but no, but you're also getting like an A in class, and you're also doing this. Oh my God, I love you. And I mean, I wouldn't say that I don't like that. I mean, I like it, but yet, I mean, there is that sense of, I would say, treating me differently because I do so many things. And I've had teachers pick favorites. And I mean, I wouldn't say that it's the right thing to do, but if it's me doing so many things and understanding what I want to do in life, giving my example, I don't mind it. I appreciate it. Because if somebody, I mean, there are people that come to me, oh my God, I want to be part of this group. I want to work on the SDGs. I'm like, come on, dude, hop on the group. I'll add you to the group, introduce you. People will be respectful and you do your work. Because I've helped people, and I helped my school, in fact. There was this girls' day, and we were celebrating that, and they wanted some professionals from all over the world, and they wanted that they can send some video messages. And I'm like, I have 5,000 friends. I can probably find some people. I had people from NASA. I had people from the USA. I had people from Algeria. I had people from like all around the world sending in messages for my school and like naming the school. That is a good thing, right? So, I mean, that I did for my principal, and she loved it. And that is, I felt like, oh my God, what I'm doing is like really nice. So, I mean, there's this sense of feeling special as well. Now, it can sound a bit weird, and it does to most of the people that I tell it to. I've been actually researching on drug abuse for a few months. It was right after I saw this movie, and then I Googled it. Yeah. So things happen, right? And my dad, in fact, was very overwhelmed with how much I knew about the drug policies of my country and of other countries, and opioid policies of other countries, which is a bit weird when you think of it. You know, it's perspectives. And I've really found that a lot of people in high school and in like those high school times, they can at times be engaged with substances, correct? Have you ever seen somebody be engaged with substances, and have you like dealt with people like that? Because smoking or drinking is something that's like very normalized. But come on, weed is not. It's not. It's like super illegal. But it was, in fact, it was legalized in 2016 in the USA. It was legalized. And I think it's here as well. Yeah, it was cannabis, never mind. Sorry. I sound very weird when I'm talking about all these drugs, but I feel like this is there. I found people doing stuff like that. And if the parents do not care, the teachers do. And yet not being disrespectful in any way, but the teachers have to take care of that, or have to report that, or I don't know, just help the child, because meth and a lot of things are just very commonized, especially in the US high schools. Because I was reading some statistics, and oh my God, I had to lie down after all that, because it was heartbreaking. I mean, for a 13-year-old it was. Imagine for adults. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the youngest age that I've dealt with kids who are using substances is about 12 years old as a teacher. Yeah. And that ranges from a lot of marijuana, also alcohol, bringing alcohol to school, you know, taking it from their parents, and And also just no normal. I've had, you know, kids bring a water bottle and bring clear alcohol in it and, you know, be drinking through the day. And you know, I've also had a lot of situations where kids have come, you know, under the influence to school. They've come high, for example, and you have to deal with it because it's, I mean, this is a young person crying out for help. You know, this is a young person that is struggling, that doesn't know any other way to deal with it. They have no other tools except for using substances. And I have a saying that's everybody is doing the best they can with the tools they have. And young people who come from homes where their parents don't have a lot of tools, where they're not learning these things in school. You know, you talked about in preschool learning anger management. I mean, these kind of things, like, we don't really value that much. So where do kids learn it if they're not getting it at home? For me, every time a kid has had issues with drug abuse or with substance abuse, it's a cry for help. And usually that route is, of course, talking with, well, you have to deal with if they're under the influence, they have to go home, something has to happen because they can't stay in class, of course. But then it's a lot about like following up and saying, okay, like, what is going on? You know, why is this what's happening? And sometimes you find out it's happening every day. Sometimes you find out that it was a one-time thing, but usually that's not the case if they're coming to school that way. So there's a lot of things that then unfolds after a situation like that. And then you can bring in, you know, other people to help with that situation, because it isn't up to one teacher, for example, to save a kid. It's not possible, but it's also not something that I think teachers should hold on themselves. You know, you need a lot of other help and support to do that. But I think that this massive increase in people using, young people using drugs and alcohol is a cry for help. And I actually think a lot of the things we started talking about kids not seeing meaning to school, not seeing their path in their future, not having things they're obsessed with, like interviewing people around the world. You know, what happens when you go home at night and you don't have these things, right? What happens if Netflix isn't enough anymore? You know, then I think you start getting to a point where you're starting to look for meaning. You're starting to look for something that gives you some kind of feeling other than this dull, empty thing that you've got. And if you've got no tools to deal with that, I don't say that it's a good thing people are turning to drugs and alcohol, but I can say I understand. Because it's a really tough situation.
Yeah.
So maybe some of these changes also around school and around education, you know, starting to light fires in kids' eyes around what they're interested in and passionate about, maybe that also is some way to address this massive issue with young people and drugs.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I'd really like to thank you for coming on, for staying on with me and answering all these questions that I have, because, you know, I too would need some people to answer those questions, because I want to work on education. And I've been part of this education industry for a lot of time. And I'm looking, and I've been honestly researching on future schools, and I really want to be part of one if there's a way. I mean, I'd really love for you to suggest something off air. And it's because I just don't want to memorize answers and get an A, because I was good at studies. That's how I manage everything. Because the thing is, in my summer school, like summertime, what I do is just I go through the books, I learn these things, I watch a 2-minute video and I know the chapter. Okay, that's how easy it is. And then I know what I'm going to study already. And it's not that I'm a know-it-all in class, but I know the concepts in class, and I'm aware of things that are going on. And high school's a fun time. Come on. I mean, high school sweethearts, not to mention. And, you know, that experience being a carefree thing. And, you know, every school has a band. So being part of the band, having prom. I mean, that is the most looked for thing of high school. I know that. Right? And, you know, there's so many aspects to high school. And you're going towards college, you're growing up, and yet you're also going through that age of puberty, and you're just kind of like going to adulthood. So all that energy has to be kind of put somewhere. That can be a positive use, that can be a negative use. So it's for you to decide. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. So, like, 2-in-1 question. what small message would you like to give to all the people out there? And second, if anybody wants to contact you, how can they do so for anything?
Yeah, I think the first message is that we need to bring more meaning and more human to school and to work and to everything that we do. We need to see people again. That would just be my message to the world, and also message to students is like I see you, you know, and I think that's an important thing to say every single day. And then the second thing is people are welcome to email me. It's Loni at imagineif.dk. And then you can also reach out on LinkedIn. And we have a website, imagineif.dk, which gives a lot of resources and also ways that you can help transform schools to make it more authentic and meaningful for kids. So,
okay.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I really appreciate being here with you, and to all the people watching, because this is recorded. So I definitely read your comments. It's been very appreciative, and I hope that you guys like this session. You can always text me for feedback. And yeah, and I mean, I would love to have more sessions like this with you in the future. And anybody who's on here once, I keep annoying them for some while, so I'm gonna keep doing that with you as well. Uh, and yeah, have fun. These are the days. Come on, guys, have fun in life. Because I told you, I'm like, you know what? These are the 40 minutes we get to go wild here. Do anything that you want. So
Did we go wild?
Yeah, a limited wildness we did here. But yeah, imagine like Girls Gone Wild, very appropriate version. But okay. Yeah, you know, I'm also a stand-up comedian. I think that's where this comes from. And I'm also 13, so I think that is what that comes from. And yeah, thank you so much. Please comment, share, and you can reach out to Loni, as she said you can. And you can always reach out to me. You can text me. I check my text a lot. So thank you so much. And yeah.